Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a little side episode of GameBusters. I am your host Nirav. I'm joined by my Vault Dweller companion here, Jess. Or I don't know, Jess. Which faction would you be?
Well, in Fallout 4, I was the Minutemen because it's the only one that you can get a good ending with. Well, a really good ending where you don't have to kill anyone.
Oh,
Um,
right. But I mean, like, if you, the real person, was in the Wasteland, like, which faction do you think you would join?
um, Probably the Cannibals.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess the Fiends, I think. Anyway, so yeah, we're today we're going to be doing like kind of a review of the Fallout TV show. So, if anyone has listening has ever listened to I think any of the show before, they probably know that I am a big fan of Fallout. It is my favorite game franchise, and I've definitely spent more time in it than any other one. And yeah, I've spent time on all the games. Definitely the least amount of time on the first two, but I still played each one for like 8 or 9 hours to get a good feel of what's going on in there. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the other ones, hundreds of hours each. So and Jess, you were well familiar with these games too, yes?
Yeah, I've played Fallout 3 New Vegas 4 and an hour of 76. And then Fallout 1 and 2 have been on my back log for centuries.
Yeah, for 30 years
Yeah.
since they came out. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would love to dive into this. First, though, we gotta find out. I think I'm gonna say that I would join. Do you remember the Republic of Dave?
No.
There's like in Fallout 3, there's just like a guy named Dave, and he has recognized himself as a sovereign nation. Um, and then like if you go there and you explore the museum, which is just like his house, there's like it turns out there's been like 5 people that have just like taken over this like sovereign land and declared themselves like separate from the United States over the years.
I don't remember that.
You don't? Oh, there was like it's like this used to be the Kingdom of Larry, but then I killed Larry, so now it's the Republic of Dave.
So you'd just be the Kingdom of Nirav.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually the name. I was messing around. I think Gontopia.
Yeah.
That feels good to
Actually,
me.
I retract mine. I think I'd be part of the Oasis in Fallout 3, where it's just like trees.
Yeah, the tree people, or rather they
Yeah.
worship the trees.
Yeah, I'd go there. I'd just like, be a gardener for the rest of my life.
That would be preferable to literally any other lifestyle available. Yeah. So and shout out to my boy Harold. I posted. I don't know if you saw in the Discord. I posted a few days ago. Like, oh, shout out to my boy Harold. With a picture of him, the tree man, and Momo like just like did not believe that was from Fallout because she was like, well, I thought it was just like this like relatively like grounded thing with like real animals and stuff. I was like, no, no,
But
no,
did she
no.
never go there?
No, she never played any of the games.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah, she was just like, and I was like, there's like, I was like explaining like, there's like a real ghost in like all of these games.
Yeah.
Like, there's fucking alien invasions. There's like the Dunwich horror thing with like a titan living underneath the earth that ate
Yeah.
everybody, like etc. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. So anyway, yeah, let's get into it. So I think first, um, I'll say like a brief thing. So I watched this show last week when it came out. Like it came out the day that I left to go to visit some friends in New York City. So I downloaded all of these episodes onto the Amazon Prime app on my laptop, which I know everybody has, and I like was watching them like on the plane and then like in her apartment like at 3 in the morning, basically. So I was mostly delirious for a lot of this, but I have since watched it again with like so after finishing it myself, I went back like and watched with a few reaction channels of people who were like unfamiliar with Fallout to get like an idea of how the show is from a just the perspective of being a television show. And Yeah, so Jess, I'm assuming you did not go back and watch it many times like I did.
No, but I watched all of it on Friday because I panicked
Jesus.
because I realized I hadn't watched it yet. So,
It's a very bingeable show.
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah, I know a lot of people. I'm actually kind of mixed on like whether I would have wanted it to come out like weekly or not because like I feel after seeing how strong of an impact the show has made just like culturally, I guess I definitely don't feel like it would have achieved that if it had come out week to week.
I think I've been thinking about this because I've been seeing different discourse. So, like, I feel like being able to binge it is more convenient, but the lasting effects of watching it weekly I feel a bit more powerful because it's things like it's like an event that like lasts longer than when you could just watch it all in one go. Because I've been waiting for this for like years, and now I did it all on Friday, and now it's like done. It's like getting a book and then like reading it in one day. You just feel a bit like deflated afterwards.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I understand. I've seen a lot of discourse of people being like, "This is the future, old man." Like that. Like weekly shows were never good. I'm like, I don't think that's
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, it's like being able to go into the office and then discuss, everyone be like, oh, what do you think about Vault 4? What do you think's up with that? But like you don't get that when you binge it because you've all seen it. In fact, it's the opposite. Like I found because I was at my friend's last weekend. And a lot of the people that we met up with had already watched it, and I hadn't. No one could discuss it, because or they couldn't discuss it anyway because some had started it but were like midway through it. So it just like kind of like halt that kind of like those kind of discussions.
Oof. Yeah, I get that. Like I feel like that's just I don't know. What was I gonna say? I don't know. Okay, so what I was gonna say is the last show I remember being something people talked about, which I really enjoyed. Like they call it, like water cooler talk, basically.
Yeah.
So when the Last of Us TV show came out, which was what 400 years ago now.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I remember going into work, and I think after the first 2 or 3 episodes, like most of my office was watching it. And again, like I think I was the only one who had played the video game, but everyone was watching it because it was like a big thing. People were talking about it even outside of the game, and
Yeah.
it was fun because like I would I had one coworker who like every Friday like afternoon, the time when like everyone's starting to kind of like stop doing things. We would all like kind of like float towards her office just organically and like sit and talk like for an hour about like what everyone thought was going to happen on the episode coming out this weekend.
Yeah.
And then I would just like sit there in the corner and chuckle like
Yeah.
but like I really enjoyed that, and I think everyone had a really good time doing that. But
Yeah.
I know as much as people love that sensation, like I think since Game of Thrones ended, The Last of Us is the only show that's kind of done that, like, and had that effect, as far as my experience. Because like even right now, the hot shit is Shogun, which is a fucking amazing show. But I think this is kind of where I'm seeing the turn though, because I brought it up in my office a few weeks ago, like, yo, like this show is amazing, and everyone's like, yeah, I've heard it's amazing, but I want to binge the entire thing, so I'm gonna wait till it's done.
Yeah.
So I'm worried that like that culturally has just like kind of gone away. Like people just want to watch an entire season of a show in one day in one sitting.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a side recommendation to watch Shogun. It is one of the best shows I've seen in a few years. All the hype is real. So, anyway, yeah, I guess we'll get into the show. So, what did you know about this before the show came out? Like, what were you aware of?
So I think I've like told you before, like I've got like a golden rule of my own now, where
Yeah.
if I know I'm gonna watch something, I don't watch any trailers for it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I already knew I was gonna watch the Fallout TV show, so I hadn't watched any trailers. hadn't read anything leading up to it. All I knew is that, like, someone in a conversation had told me that a ghoul was going to be like one of the main characters, and I got excited about that. But like that's all I knew about it.
Okay, yeah. So that is cool because like I obviously was like just nose deep in this. Like
Yeah.
I was just like on the internet sniffing out any mentions, any like watching videos of Todd and his various like eyebrows and like maybe what they might indicate. But yeah, so like coming into this, that's good to know. You were like not 100% like sure what was gonna be going on. So like, what was your like first impression of the first episode then?
So the reason why I like doing this is because you never know what's going to happen. So there's like Midnight Mass.
Yeah, I love Midnight Mass.
Yeah, so I went into Midnight Mass having absolutely no idea what it was about. I just knew that it was good. It was made by the people who made Haunting in Hill House. And the excitement I had when I was trying to work out what was going on, like I was like, is it demons? Is it ghosts?
Yeah.
And like the revelation that it was like vampires was like so exciting because I hadn't watched any trailers or anything.
I'm pretty sure that was an angel. Pretty sure.
Yeah, but it's like all it's like
No,
they
I
drink
know.
each other's blood and stuff. Yeah.
I thought that show was extremely clever because it's like all this stuff that's like written about angels like in the Bible, which is frankly not a lot actually. It kind of also applies to vampires, and you're like, oh no, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the angels are supposed to be like scary in the Bible, so it wouldn't just be a guy in a robe.
That's true. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of angel art where they're like, kind of buff.
Yeah.
got those nice square chins.
But yeah, so that was like kind of what my experience was watching this was. So like going into the first episode, for one, I did not know there was going to be three characters. I knew there was going like three main characters, and someone had told me there was going to be a ghoul as the main character, and I thought that he was just going to be like the main character. And then like when the episode started and we were like following a vault dweller, I was just like, what? But yeah, I liked how it started off, how most of the games start. So we started off in the vault with Lucy. Even like the first episode has its own little plot twist. And then I also liked the introduction to Maximus and the ghoul as well.
Yeah, I thought it was like a good pacing of introduction because it's like we open with Cooper, in the pre-war thing, which I thought was a stellar opening scene.
Yeah.
Which I've seen so many times now, and like I love the way that they like did the visualized the atomic bombs and everything. Like it kind of like felt, and I don't know how real it is. I guess I'm not an atomic scientist, but I did. You know what though? I did take a nuclear physics class in grad school. So if you need to compute the the kilotons of heat, maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
But again, that was many years ago. So regardless, I think it looked kind of real, and like I don't know, like the visualization of like seeing the bomb and then like the shockwave coming and then the sound following it and like the explosion coming far after, like I think that is kind of how it works to my knowledge, but again, I don't know. I want to ask this though. Do you think that Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan kind of like sat at the dinner table like arguing about like how to do an atomic explosion?
I forgot Christopher Nolan's just an Oppenheimer as well.
Yeah. Which is fun. Like we were making a bunch of jokes about like, oh yeah, it's like like, oh John, could you pass the salt? It's right there under my Oscar.
Jonathan Nolan actually wrote a lot of Christopher Nolan's films, but has like kind of stopped once he's got into TV. So I feel like that maybe there is a bit of a rift.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the a rift, but like, so Jonathan Nolan has one nomination for an Oscar, which was for the screenplay for Memento.
Yeah.
And which he did not win. So yeah, but did Did Oppenheimer win screenplay too?
I'm not sure.
I think it might have. Anyway, I mean, regardless, Christopher Nolan now has like 17 Oscars from this one movie. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah. Anyway, I got off track. Back to the characters. Like I really liked how Cooper was like our little pre-war glimpse, and then like I didn't really expect to follow his story like before the war or before the bombs. You know, like
It is
throughout the whole
risky
show.
territory. Yeah, it's risky territory because they haven't shown the pre-war era as much in the actual games. So a lot of that is going to be like new material and like stuff from like the books and like the logs in the actual games,
Yeah,
but like we haven't like physically seen it. So that does like feel it feels very new in the Fallout universe to see so much of the pre-war era.
yeah. And I mean that also gave them the opportunity to do awesome stuff like fucking Mr. House is just like there hanging out.
Yeah,
Which I was so excited about. But yeah, like he was the president of Robco, like when the bombs dropped and everything.
yeah, and he's got a mustache, so that's definitely
That well, yeah. I mean, it also said it was him under the in the subtitles.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Which I thought was funny because I think that was just like a little like the fact that they didn't like have him turn to the camera directly and say I am Robert House. Like I think that was just a little bit for the fans there. You know, they're like, oh my god, that's
Yeah.
him. And but yeah, I agreed. Like we don't know a lot about that time period. Like genuinely, I think the most we've seen of it in a game is like the opening half hour of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was really well done, and it like fit the I don't know, the whole aesthetic really well too. I don't know. It's go
One
ahead.
thing that I don't know whether they've added it or not, but you know how they mentioned that Vault-Tec also sold cyanide pills? Is that in the games? Because I thought that was a really cool touch, which I hadn't heard of before then.
I don't think that was from any of the games, or at least I haven't heard of it. I'm gonna Google this right now on the Fallout wiki. Um,
Yeah, so that's like so dark, but then also quite clever,
it
because it
makes a
means
lot
like
of sense. Huh?
Vault-Tec's, yeah, like
No,
also making money off the people that couldn't afford the vaults.
yeah, it looks like it hasn't. No, it looks like it's never been mentioned before. Um,
Yeah, and it also seems like another like capitalist way of like getting more people to invest in the vaults as well, because it's like, well, here's one option and here's our other option. So like you obviously want to try and like put money into getting yourself a place in the vaults if the other option is the cyanide pills.
yeah. It's the I like that it was banana flavored.
Yeah,
But yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch. I think that was one of the things this show did super well was like it had it inserted a lot of stuff into the lore that like doesn't clash with anything, but also like makes a lot of things make more sense.
yeah,
Um, and like the huge bomb they drop at the end, not the real bomb, but a narrative bomb,
yeah,
a writing based bomb at the end that like. So I do want to like clarify because I like looked into this a little bit more. Like, of course, at the moment it kind of seems like Vault-Tec's like it's like Vault-Tec dropped the bombs. We don't like
yeah,
know that for sure, and I think the reason I am not like sure about it is because I don't believe there's a situation in which like Barb would let that happen without her daughter being like safely locked away in a vault somewhere.
yeah. I feel like it was more suggestion,
Yeah, it was
but
like
like
that is what we're will I think the reason they did that is cuz it's like this is what we're willing to do, and then 200 years later you see that Hank, who is now Vault-Tec, is like still willing to do that, and he doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
But like that moment just like shook me. I was shooketh. um
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the like lead up. I think that like from what I've seen from people who don't know the story of the games is that like they everyone got like really involved in the, like unraveling this mystery. They're like, who the fuck is Hank? Like, who is Lucy's mom and dad? Like, why are they important? Why does everybody know her? You know, what is Vault-Tec doing now? You know, in the post-apocalypse, why does the
Yeah.
ghoul know who she is, etc., etc. And so like everybody got really wrapped up into it, and I think it told like a really well like self-contained story that like they add on another layer to the mystery every episode, and then like give you like a few small answers that like you were just like, no, I don't care about that. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out, by the way, to I think surprise fan favorite Norm, who I fucking loved in this show.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like, I think a lot of people in the first episode were like, oh, this is a little like McDweebus kid over here. But
Yeah,
like,
I thought he was brilliant. Yeah.
no, I liked him. I admire his tenacity.
Yeah.
I think I was really actually invested in him uncovering the like dark history of Vault Tech and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we were really invested in the Vault storyline. Like every time it kept on cutting to like, you know, the actual Fallout bit with like Cooper and everything. We're like, no, go back to the Vault. What's going on?
I wish there had been more of that. I also like I think I'm like a tad disappointed we didn't see what like Norm is gonna do at the end with all the cryopods.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody suggest this, and I like this a lot better. Like, somebody suggest the idea that he's going to literally just bust open all the cryopods.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he's just gonna unleash them all because then they can't like continue their little plan.
Yeah.
Also, can you imagine? Could you imagine like a Vault experiment where the Vault's just full of managers?
We're gonna create the ultimate manager.
Yeah.
Generations of curated breeding.
Yeah.
I did like that. Like, I like the whole like revelation, like buds and all that. It's like I hate this guy so much. That character feels like something from the older games, honestly. Like Bud, the like little brain on a Roomba, who's like, nope, yeah, I'm just these are just my buddies over here.
Yeah.
I liked him. But yeah, I guess we should talk about the main characters. So yeah, what do you think of Lucy?
I really liked Lucy. I was a bit like apprehensive about her to begin with because I thought the way they were going down. I thought so they deliberately picked the most cheerful, like upbeat person, and then when we had that episode with her and Cooper, and he like cut off her finger and everything, I thought they were gonna make her like turn her down to the extreme, you know, like suddenly turn her into like Sarah Connor.
Right.
And I'm kind of like glad they didn't. She's still like her, like in the end, like she's. I mean, like, she has kind of like turned into what Cooper predicted. Like, she's killed her ghoul mom, and it's like it's been through much more, but she just still have her own personality still. Yeah, I did really like her. I also liked how she had her strengths and weaknesses as well.
Yeah, I love that, and I think I like had said in our review, like the lines that like stuck out to me were, you know, of course, when she's like, you know, what are you? And he says, I'm you, sweetie. You just give it a few more, or you just give it a little time. And then,
yeah,
like when she comes out of there and she gives him the super duper Martin, like gives him the vials and everything, like, you know, like she says, I may look like you one day, but I will never be like you. And I thought that was like very. I really liked that she like. I don't know. I always am a fan of like heroes that are like, no, I can, like people continually tell them you can't have it both ways, and they're like, no, I'm gonna do it both ways.
Yeah.
And I really like this. Like, I think Lucy like does have what it's, you know, she's willing to do what it takes to survive here, but I think she is also like very capable of not losing herself and letting go of being an inherently good person while doing it. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and there was still a learning curve to be had. Like, she wasn't perfect from the start, and I like that. Like, I like that she's learnt some things along the way. Like, we definitely feel like there's been a journey for her.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel like any. I don't know. It felt like everybody was like kind of playing within their like actual competence. Like,
yeah,
and you know, Lucy's obviously very like competent at a lot of things. She's not very good at a lot of other things. And then once she gets out in the wasteland, like you like see her like leveling up essentially, which is great.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. So Yeah, I thumbs up for her. I thought that Ella Purnell did a fantastic job, and I only found out after, or was reminded after I watched it the first time, that she also played Jinx in Arcane, and
Yeah.
now I'm in love,
Yeah.
and I hope you're very happy for us.
Um, and then we've got the other character, Max,
Yeah.
who was my favorite because
Really? Yeah, he's doing a zero intelligence run is kind of the
uh,
joke.
did you notice he had no impact on the storyline as well?
I
Like
love
nothing
it.
that he did like changed. If you had removed Max from the equation, nothing would have changed.
I think that is kind of the point, which is why it sets him up to be like the leader of the new brotherhood at the end. It's like
Yeah.
this guy is just there and things keep happening around him, and very suddenly he is, because of all the big players around him, which including his friend Dane, who I believe I saw a theory yesterday that they are working for another faction
Yeah.
within the brotherhood, and I am now very certain that is the case. Uh, but like so many things are happening around him, so many players are making moves here and there, and then like suddenly, even though he hasn't done anything to like specifically get himself here, he is here with an enormous amount of power, because he now essentially is controlling all of the power in the wasteland, like all the electricity.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, I just think it's like a fascinating idea for a character. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, I think he also does, come into play with like, he is the one who like pulls the head out of the gulper that they need and everything. So he does do something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like, I don't know. I really liked him. I thought he was very funny, which I don't think people are talking about enough.
Yeah, I thought he was hilarious as well. I really liked his line delivery. It was just so dry and like just I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just dry.
Right.
He's so serious about everything, but he's funny without even trying.
Yeah, it's just like he just says everything that's on his mind without like considering anything.
Yeah.
Which I think is very fun. I also think that like I saw somebody saying like Max is basically the way that like the average player of these games would play their way through the game. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'll pick these nice dialogue options, but then like I will just take all this stuff from these other people who need it. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't really have a moral compass as much as I'm just like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't like his relationship with Lucy though.
I think that like they could have been. I get it a little bit, but like
Yeah, I get it from her perspective at least.
right, because like I mean she's been like locked in the vault with like her cousin basically for
Yeah.
25 years, and then like like look at this knight in shining armor who's like come to rescue me, right? Like
Yeah.
I totally get that. And I think he honestly has been like Max has been like picked on and bullied by basically everyone he meets so relentlessly that like she's kind of the first person who's like genuinely nice to him.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
hoping that it's not like a lasting relationship. I hope they both find people that are like better suited for them. Because I don't think they had. I feel they had like friendship chemistry, but I didn't think they had like romantic chemistry.
yeah, I think that the actors work really well together, but I agree. I'm not like invested in them like getting together or anything like that.
No.
I also like I'm honestly more excited though to like see for season 2 like Lucy and like the ghoul, like their dynamic hitting the road together.
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably gonna make for a little bit more interesting stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed Max. I'm really excited to see him, and then another surprise like secondary character I ended up loving was Thaddeus, like his squire.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was great. I actually really liked him as well. Because he didn't do anything wrong. Like I feel like he morally he was like a really good character. It was Max who was like in the wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like you're supposed to like hate this guy because he's like a bully, and he was like beating Max up at the beginning, and then he like shows up
Yeah.
and talks for 30 seconds, and you're like, look at this guy. This is the guy you get if you can't afford Michael Cera, I think.
Yeah.
He's kind of doing the same thing. But no, I really enjoyed him, and I saw a lot of theories on him too, that he's not actually turning into a ghoul. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think he is because I feel like turning into a ghoul is like from radiation damage, and the actual healing properties that come from that is like a benefit once it's done. I
Yeah.
don't think like becoming a ghoul is like you're suddenly invincible, but then like the damage bits turn all ghoulish. Like I think he's something different.
So a lot of people are theorizing that the medicine that the guy gave him, Doctor Chickenfucker gave him, was like was just like concentrated FEV, the forced evolutionary virus, which
Yeah.
would possibly like result in him turning into a super mutant.
Yeah, because I was quite disappointed that we didn't get any super mutants in this. So I'm really hoping we see them in season 2.
So that, yeah, I was like looking this up because like the super mutants are, there's like several different breeds of them essentially, because there's the super mutants that are in Fallout 1 are all like part of the Master's like hive mind, and
Yeah.
assuming that like, you know, this one assumes that you have defeated the Master, like the canon timeline, you know, he does not win, and when he's killed, like the super mutants go with him, and that's kind of like the West Coast one's gone. But then if you go over to the East Coast, then there's like, it basically has turned into this thing where like over the years, like West Tech developed their own brand of super mutants on the East Coast that like were you know, being raised in specific vaults and everything, and then like they unleashed them, or rather, so like even in Fallout 76, which is only 25 years after the bombs dropped, there are super mutants because they've come from Vault 89, which is like in Virginia, which is where they were. West Tech was like developing a race of superhumans, and like, whoops, we made
Like the one in Fallout 3 where you find forks.
yeah, exactly like that. I think they had a few of those around the country, and like then over on the, you know, the West Coast, like New Vegas also has super mutants because they like migrated from like XYZ. There's like a whole bunch of stuff, but they're all like different tribes of super mutants, but they're also all like genetically different. So
Yeah.
I'm also interested to see this because I feel like we could see like Thaddeus turn into like a new kind of super mutant.
Yeah. I also thought it was hilarious that the doctor like actually helped because I did honestly, and when that scene was playing out I thought he was just gonna try and kill him. I did not realize that he was actually gonna help this man.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised. Also, like, Jesus Christ, I felt sick watching like looking at that guy's foot. Anyway, I also have heard a theory that because the Brotherhood is like a little bit different than they've been seen before, and like we don't know what happened after the events of New Vegas specifically, because like, you know, in supposedly it looks like either the Yes Man or the Mr. House endings, or one of those two is the canon one, and
Yeah.
that means that like the Legion is dissolved, and so it seems though there's a lot of like symbolism, and also the colors of the Brotherhood have changed, and it looks like it's possible that the West Coast Brotherhood, which was very weak at the time of New Vegas, like merged with the remnants of the Legion after the Battle of Hoover Dam, which I think is like a really interesting prospect. But I think it also checks out, like they have a lot of like Latin sounding stuff now that they didn't have before also in the Brotherhood.
But
And
isn't the TV show set before all the games apart from 76?
the TV show?
Yeah.
No, this is set after every game.
Oh, is it? Oh, let me
Yeah.
have a look. I swear it was set before.
No,
the
this is
games.
8 years.
What...
This is 8 years after Fallout 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's no, it's very very far in the future. It's 219 years after the bombs drop. So
That makes a lot more sense, actually.
yeah, no, trust me. I've been fighting timeline chuds on the internet for the last week.
Yeah.
I've been in the shit. And because people just like don't know how to read a blackboard, they've just like lost their minds. They're like, "Ah, no, they've erased New Vegas. They want us to think it never happened." Even though like the show fucking ends with them being like, "Hey, season 2 is going to be in New Vegas."
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense now because I noticed the Roman names as well, and I thought that reminded me of the Legion as well, and I don't remember. I guess no, I guess they didn't have like Roman sounding names in the game.
No, they didn't really, and like it's also like the colors of the Brotherhood like flags and like banners that you see in this are like the color that the Legion stuff was in the game.
Yeah,
Which is very I think it's a really solid theory.
yeah, I didn't
That
notice because everything was brown in the game, so
Yeah. Well, like so Fallout New Vegas happens in 2281, and
yeah,
that's like 19 years before this game. So that's Max is like a child there. Um,
yeah,
but anyway, so the whole thing the timeline does check out as much. They're like really. I saw a thing where Todd Howard was like, "No, here's the thread of events. All the games are canon. I don't know why people are having such a hard time. We're threading the needle very tightly on this. It is like very hard to make sure all of the lore checks out, but it does." And
yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, he's right. Like people are just trying to find something stupid to complain about." But yeah, this is like the latest thing. So like we don't know anything about what's happened over on the East Coast, but it looks like because like in New Vegas, the West Coast Brotherhood was like very small and weak. They were just like in an underground bunker because they had kind of like run out of like guns and power armor suits and everything. And so it's weird that like now they're like such a huge faction, unless they were to combine with a bunch of people who maybe like lost their leader. And didn't really have, because the Legion just doesn't exist without Caesar himself. It's like a cult.
yeah.
So yeah, I like this theory a lot. I think they're gonna dive into that in the next season.
I completely missed where the TV show was set. I assumed it was like California or somewhere.
Yeah, it's Los Angeles. The whole thing takes place in the Los Angeles metro area.
I thought so. I saw a beach at the start, so I joined the dots.
Yeah, the one beach in America is indeed in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. So, yeah, that was actually when Lucy walks out, that is the very famous Santa Monica Pier in L.A. that she sees
Yeah.
with the Ferris wheel, which is to help like place you. Also, one thing that I think got people confused: the town of Philly is not Philadelphia, because it's like, how did they get to Philadelphia? But no, it's Philly with an F, and they call it that because it's built on the huge landfill outside of LA.
Yeah.
Which I did look up. I was like, why is it called Philly? Oh, okay, I see. But yeah, a lot of people are just like, how the fuck did they walk from Los Angeles to Philadelphia? Like, no, they didn't.
Well, how far away is Vegas from California?
Oh, very far. That was like the fact that like my boy like jetpacked there. That would have taken him hours, even with his jetpack. But that's because the whole thing. But I think that's why it's like the whole thing happens at night, and then he's basically flying the entire night, and like you see the sun like rising, and he's like reached New Vegas there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, L.A. is. I think it's like a 4-hour drive maybe to Las Vegas from L.A. I'm probably just being a big idiot right now. I'm gonna type this in. Vegas to LA. Oh, it's almost 5 hours actually. So yeah, just driving. But I guess if you don't have to like curve around the mountains and you can just jetpack around, it could be faster.
Yeah.
Oh look, there's Prim from the game. I mean, I know it's from real life, but it's also in the video game. Okay.
I thought you meant Prim from like Hunger Games.
No, I definitely did not. I meant the city of Prim that is featured in Fallout New Vegas, which also has a giant. Oh, look, there's Buffalo Bill's Resort, which is in the game. I didn't realize all this stuff was real. I thought they just made it up. This is a real thing. Hold on. I gotta look at Buffalo Bill's Casino, because that's like the literal like thing that's in the games. Yeah, my face when I find out that real things are real. Holy shit, there's the whole roller coaster and all that shit. It's all real. What the fuck is this? Okay, anyway,
A lot,
sorry.
a lot of the stuff from Fallout 4 is real.
Yeah, I think most of it is. I shouldn't be so surprised. Like most of the points of interest are real. Like what they kind of do for these is like take all the points of interest and then like squish them together so like the distance
Yeah.
between them is like very small. But yeah, so all right, let's talk about our friend the Ghoul, played by the incorrigible Walton Goggins, who is
So
fucking great.
I didn't like Cooper.
You don't like him?
I thought he felt too similar to the Man in Black in the Westworld. It kind of felt like they were doing the same character again, only he now eats people.
Well, I mean, he's a wasteland cowboy.
Yeah,
I mean, that
and
is what he is.
shoots dog. Well, he doesn't. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, he did shoot the dog.
Well, he
But like,
stabbed the
I
dog.
feel, yeah, I feel like if they've made him like so irredeemable, in my opinion, I don't think there's any coming back from who he is.
Yeah, I don't think they're supposed to be. I didn't really get that feeling from him. He's like just he. I mean that's the point of the character. I think is just like as a foil for Lucy. Like if you let the wasteland get to you, this is what you're gonna become.
Yeah, but this character's gonna have to be like carried through the next few seasons if he's like gonna remain a main character. I feel like it's gonna be very difficult to do when he's just so unlikable.
I mean, I love him, and I think he's like kind of the fan favorite character.
Is he?
Yeah, no, he is. Like he's I've even seen like polls and stuff. Like he's by far the fan favorite character. Like
Because I
this is
just
the
thought
character
he was a
everybody.
massive. I just thought he was a massive arsehole, and there was like no need for it either.
No, he is, but that's why everyone loves him. Like
Yeah.
he's like he's like the wastelander. Like this is the fantasy that people play the games to live out, is like be this character. Like you're
Yeah.
the survivalist in the wasteland. Like this is the guy. And like I don't know, I thought he was so fascinating. Like especially his like pre-war story was, I think, like some of my favorite parts of the show. But like I don't know, he's such a great actor, honestly. Like I think he stole every scene he was in. But yeah, no, he's like very very certainly the fan favorite. People really hate Maximus in general, which is sad.
Yeah.
But I think people are just mad. He's like, he's so stupid, I hate him. I was like, yeah, but he's like a teddy bear.
Yeah, he's so stupid, but like he's not portrayed to be anything else, so I feel like it kind of works.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the thing, is like people people want to imagine that like they would be as competent as the Ghoul out there in the wasteland.
Yeah.
And they absolutely would not be.
It's so I hate it when they make a main character and they make stupid mistakes. But it like feels like the right one when you're watching it. That it's like played out like they made the right move. You know when like the characters uncovered something and then they go straight to the evil person. They're like, "Oh, I know what you did," and you're like, "No, you're so stupid." But like Max
Yeah.
is that character, but it's not portrayed as being like the right thing to do. He is like fully he's got very low intelligence.
Yeah,
and
he's kind of shamed for it, honestly. Like,
yeah, the show doesn't pretend he's like anything else.
yeah, he's doing a 10 luck, 0 intelligence build, which I think is
Yeah.
really powerful. Also, this is the thing, though, is like, I mentioned this in the review, too, but like, Jonathan Nolan said his main inspiration for this was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like,
Yeah.
So, like, Lucy's out here trying to do good. Like, Maximus is always making the wrong decisions and generally hurting the people around him. And then the Ghoul is the ugly. Like, this is like just like that movie, what the Wild West turns a man into. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
And like it's the contrast of these three characters that I think makes it work so well. Because like focusing the story solely on any one of them, I don't think would be very interesting.
No.
But like I think that's the whole point of Fallout, is like you're making your decisions, and like everyone plays the game completely different from each other. Like,
Yeah.
I personally have been still unable to do like a Legion playthrough or like anything genuinely evil, because I'm a scare baby.
Yeah.
But I always am like nice to everybody I meet, and I'm like, please, like, be my friend.
What did you think about how they retconned ghouls a bit?
So, from what I understand, I don't think there was like a lot of that. Like, the only thing that's different is that Walton Goggins doesn't really look like a ghoul, but the reason is because it's just logistics. Like they explained already in an interview, like when he has like actual ghoul makeup on, like they couldn't see his face, like he couldn't do any acting,
Oh
and
yeah, no,
so
I could understand that. I meant how they have to take medication to stop themselves from going feral.
yeah. So I thought that was interesting because it's not like something that's been mentioned before, but that's the thing is that like all the ghouls do eventually like go feral, but that all there is that like previously no one knew about a medication for it. So like because this is so far in the future, what everyone's assumption is like sometime between like in the last years between Fallout 4 and this show, like those 8 years, like somebody came up with something that can stop you from turning.
Yeah.
Because it's only something you need to take once you start like the turning process. Like you can, because like we know even from Fallout 3, like meeting the ghouls and in Underworld, like there are some people that are like, yeah, like some people turn after 3 days, they turn feral, and some people will go 100 years without turning. It just like nobody knows why. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it was a retcon as much as just like new technology was developed since the last time we heard about it.
I guess I got confused because I thought this was a prequel to the games.
Right, yeah. I think it's very cool, like making it like a sequel though. Like it makes more sense to me to like
Yeah, it does.
do that because I don't know, there's not going to be another game for 30 years, so like this is a good thing to have to add on to
Yeah.
it. But the actually I guess the next gen update's coming out in like 2 days, so check that out.
Speaking of which, I'm so glad we didn't see live action Centaur.
Oh my god, that's kind of the thing is the gulper was though, because it's like that is the same thing that a centaur is. Like it was
What?
the gulper.
An axolotl.
Well, see that thing was like we learned from Vault 4, like that was partially an axolotl, partially a bunch of humans.
Oh right.
Yeah, so that is the same. Like it's not the same thing, but it's like related. It's made by the same process as the centaurs are made.
Yeah.
But it was definitely less gross. Like God, I'm so glad I did not have to see that thing.
Yeah, definitely. I was. It's bad enough seeing. I swear we saw it in Fallout 4, one of the DLCs, and it was bad enough seeing it in like HD, like PlayStation 4 graphics. Like I didn't want the Centaurs to return really.
Yeah, I'm worried they might be coming back. Because there's like, and I think there's actually only 3 of them, like specifically like in New Vegas because they were brought there from the East Coast for a specific reason. Because I don't think they exist on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But like they were like trucked there or something insane. But anyway, yeah, I like that because I got confused about the gulper thing and I looked into this and it is explained because I was like, well, I thought gulpers like only existed on the East Coast because they were like from Far Harbor, and that is true. Like this is not the same thing. They just call it a gulper over here because like the things that they call gulpers on the East Coast don't exist on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So like this thing over here, these things that escape from the vault are just kind of colloquially called that. So they are a different creature. But
I did find the reasoning for making it a little bit odd because they said they were trying to crossbreed human DNA with radiation resistant DNA to create something that could like withstand the apocalypse. But then you've got ghouls and super mutants who are that like they've got so much radiation damage that they are now immune to radiation damage. So it just felt a bit weird that they were creating giant axolotls when like the solution was there.
The reason for that is because like the people down in the vault, like in Vault 4, like didn't know that ghouls or super mutants existed. Like they sealed themselves in there. Like they don't know anything that's happening on the surface. So like you're right though. Like in a way, the thing they're trying to make already exists, but they just don't know about it. I mean, like Lucy didn't even know ghouls existed until she left the vault.
But like axolotls aren't radiation resistant. The only thing that's kind of like really radiation resistant are water bears.
Yeah, and the noble cockroach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna type our axolotls radiation.
But you're telling me there's 3 things that could survive the nuclear apocalypse. You've got cockroaches, water bears, and axolotls.
What the hell? Oh my god, they are.
They are?
Yeah. They're
Why?
they're found to be up to 1,000 times more resistant to radiation than humans.
I thought they were just cute, like
They're
little
just
like
little guys.
pets that you can
No,
get.
okay.
Yeah,
No,
like
there's
water
no.
guinea
All right.
pigs.
No, the lore checks out. Todd did his homework. Damn it. There's a bunch of studies here too, actually, that were done in the apparently done in the 50s and 60s mostly, like during the atomic age. But yeah, it looks like that is true. So, good work,
That's
guys.
insane.
I hate that.
I thought, yeah, so I thought it reminded me a bit of Lizard from Spider-Man because I was thinking, like, why is there a giant axolotl? And they were like, yeah, we're trying to crossbreed human DNA with radiation resistant. And I was like, how is turning everyone into giant axolotls going to help? Like,
I had to say, I think the best joke in the Spider-Man No Way Home is when like they're like, how are we gonna get all these guys? Like, how are we gonna get all these guys back to their right to the right dimensions? And the lizard, like, I think it's like one line in the movie. He's like, "What if we turn everyone into lizards?"
yeah.
It's like, yes, 100% on board with you, man. But anyway, yeah. So that was like all that was all good fun. I want to say this, like, I think they did the perfect amount of like showing us like classic Fallout monsters, like
Yeah.
not too much. So like we saw like the Yao Guai, this gulper thing. Obviously the like Mr. Handy was there. We got a lot of feature from the ghouls. That stuff was like all very good. I saw that Jonathan Nolan was like talking the other day about like, because he said like fans have been asking, like badgering him, like, why weren't there any death claws in this? And he was like, look, I know how iconic the Deathclaw is, like that is Fallout, and that the Deathclaws are coming next season as we teased, and they are going to have their own plot. They are going to take center stage, which is what they deserve.
Yeah, realistically, if a Deathclaw had appeared instead of like the bear with Maximus,
No,
he
he would be
died.
dead. Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely.
I don't think that was a situation where they could have brought in a Deathclaw and our heroes would have made it out alive.
Yeah. It's yeah, really, and I'm glad that they also like showed even like little hints like in the end credits of like the Securitrons and stuff. Like maybe we'll get to see some of them.
Yeah.
And everyone is kind of, I don't know what your guess is, but like the main prevailing theory is that the guy turning the wheel, so to speak, like the big boss running everything, is Mr. House. I don't know, because like, well, a lot of people think that because it's like Hank is running to somebody in New Vegas who he supposedly works for, or is working with.
I feel like they're not going to integrate New Vegas so much into the plot. I feel like we'll see Vegas, and maybe he is running to Mr. House, but I feel like it's gonna carry its own storyline and villains. I don't think they'll mix the plots from the games so much into it. And also that would be assuming that you haven't put Mr. House out of his misery in Vegas.
Yeah, so that also, aside from decanonizing some of the endings, I think the main reason I don't think that's true is I think the show so far has proven itself to be smart enough that like the reveal of whoever is turning the wheel is significant to our characters in the show, not to fans of the Fallout franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, because if it was like, oh, all along it was Mr. House, like most people watching are going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's something that they would do in like any other video game adaptation, I guess.
Yeah. I think we'll see Vegas, but I don't think we'll see House again. It's either going to be like under new micromanagement, like we won't see like who's the big guy behind Vegas, but and then we'll get a new villain, and it's going to link the story of Cooper's family as well. I feel like that's where we're leading on to next.
Yeah, there definitely could be some characters like from the show who like show up or something like briefly.
Yeah.
Or from the game, because it's only like, what is that? It's like less than 20 years after New Vegas happens, so like some of those people could still be alive for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that would be cool. I would like to explore some stuff with like the Securitrons, who I love those little guys with the cowboy faces.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main plot is probably going to focus on like he said, like the Death Claws are going to be like a major central story thing. So like I'm curious because the thing about like the Death Claws is like if there's like a herd of them, like in New Vegas there's one, like that is its own faction, you know?
Yeah.
Which I always love that quarry there, because like in New Vegas, because like you're like, oh, here's a quarry with like fucking 15 of these guys. I can never go here.
Well, I remember like the predicament you get into in New Vegas, where because despite it being open world, it is linear. Because when you're actually trying to get to Vegas, there is like I think there's like 4 different potential paths you can take through the mountains to get to Vegas. One of them's got the Death Claws. One of them's got scorpions.
One of them's got the Cazadors. Like
Yeah, one of them's got the Cazadors. I can't remember what the 4th one's got, but they're all just as like terrible to try and get through as well, probably the Death Claws ones are probably the worst. I think I ran through the Scorpion one in the end.
No. I the first time I did it, I remember getting to that camp of like miners, and there's like that sick mole rat, and I'm like, I have to heal this sick rat. And like then it was like I remember like just run, and when I say running I mean walking fast because there's no run button, but like running through the like past the quarry, and like you can like if you keep jumping and like staying on top of like some of the rock outcroppings, you can make it, but it is very difficult to do. You just have to like not get hit by them essentially. Which is like, you know, it just one of those things. You're like, okay, well, I got to see what this big glowy thing is, so I'm gonna do this. Yeah, no, I was really excited about the little like tease there at the end, and I wonder what's going on over there. I want like more. We didn't even talk about the fucking dog. A dog was good.
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah.
A good actor, a good performer.
Yeah.
Which I think he's now officially been named Dogmeat. He was CX404 at the beginning.
Nice.
But yeah, welcome Dogmeat to the crew. Yeah, I think that's kind of fun. Like, this is also one of those things where it's like, I remember watching that, like, when he, like, stabs the dog, I was like, that dog's not dead. TV shows are way too afraid to kill a dog.
No.
There's no fucking way.
How bad did you feel about the reveal of Vault 4? Like, how much of an arsehole did you feel?
Oh, yeah, the whole thing. Oh, God. First of all, I love Chris Parnell. I think he is so funny.
Yeah.
And
I felt so bad.
yeah, I did too. But it felt like a moment from the games, honestly, where it's like, you run in there, like, you run in somewhere, like, guns blazing, because you're like, this is a video game. I can shoot whatever I want. And then you're like, oh, there's, like, consequences to your actions. And like, yeah, I did love that. Like he's like somebody should check on that guy. He's like motionless over there. Yeah, I felt bad. I thought it was very funny though, and like I do love that. I don't know. I like that. Like Max just kept eating his popcorn for a minute after seeing her being dragged away. He's like, all right. One more bite though. I think it was like kind of, it could be easily called a throwaway thing, but I really like the fact that like he like stole the fusion core to like put in the power armor, and then she's like, you have to go put that back, like, because I think it just really like for me, like stealing a fusion core from a vault that I was visiting and then putting it in a power armor suit is something I would do without a second thought.
Yeah.
This game, right? And then it's like, I think it really like brought to the forefront, like, hey, like if you're really gonna role play in this world, like remember like the things you do affect the other people in here. I liked how they did that. I think that was like kind of a nice nod to like how we play video games by default most of the time.
Yeah. I loved how just as naive they were when they let Lucy go. They're like, as punishment, we're gonna exile you, and you'll only have 1 week's of rations.
Yeah, that was oh man. that was fun. Yeah, I don't know. I really like, I don't think I have any like genuine complaints. I think I would have liked to have spent a little bit more time with Norm's story because I actually was very invested in that.
Yeah.
And I think they could have gone a little bit longer on the finale and like had him take some sort of action rather than leave it on a cliffhanger. Because like I think it would have been a much cooler cliffhanger if he just like smashed the button and you saw all the cryopods start to open and Bud be like, oh. Because I think that is what they're gonna do, and it's probably gonna be like the final scene of the first episode next season. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited. So like I'm hoping they can get this out next year. I'm assuming with all the money behind it, they can. So yeah.
Let's see how often the Westworld series came out.
Oh no. Now that I think that also was like not I don't know. I feel like Amazon is gonna be pushing this because it's like they kind of have like I don't know. They've had a hard time capturing like I think a lot of the large scale huge projects like and I don't know. So the one I'm thinking of is Lord of the Rings specifically.
Yeah.
Like that show, while like the first two episodes were, I think like it was like a record for just TV ever in human history. Like the first two episodes of that show were watched by like 30 million people the weekend it came out, and then like less than a tenth of people kept watching after that.
Yeah, Westworld came out every 2 years, which I think is becoming like standard for TV
It
shows
is.
now.
I think because it's early this year, I think that I feel like they could get this out by like fall next year, the next season.
Yeah.
But I think they'll invest a lot of money, and I think the thing is they already had season 2 like scheduled before they did the announcement. Like
Yeah.
they had there was like a whole thing about like how they were granted a tax credit from California for season 2 like 2 months ago. So if they're already all set up, it definitely would speed that along because a lot of the time it's like scheduling is like a nightmare for getting everybody on. But I remember this thing about the so like the One Piece show on Netflix, the
Yeah.
showrunner was talking about like, oh, we're ready to do season 2, like we're waiting for the strike to end, like the show's already written, like we have to wait for the actors strike to end and then we're going to start filming. But they were like, we actually have the set like ready to go, and like everything, like everyone is already on standby, so like literally the day after the strike ends we will be filming this show. And I was like, oh wow, that's intense, but I guess that makes sense. So anyway, yeah, I was very, very pleased with this. I think like as far as video game adaptations go, this is definitely my favorite. I would put it like maybe slightly ahead of Arcane. Have you watched Arcane?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fantastic show too, though. Season 2 of that's coming out real soon.
I think I'm not sure where I'd put it, to be honest. I think Last of Us is still definitely my favorite. I think this would tie with Arcane. I think both this and Arcane, the first 2 episodes also I didn't feel as invested, but then I did get invested afterwards, whereas Last of Us kind of like hit me from the get-go. But that's literally like all I would say, really. Like that was
fair enough.
my only critique, was I felt like episode 1 and 2 like struggled to pick up a bit.
I think one thing I can say about this show is that like it does have general ups and downs, but like I think the finale is the best episode, and I think overall it gets better as it goes on, which is
Yeah, definitely.
I think that is a lot harder feat to achieve than your first episode being the best one, which is what most of these shows are like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this, and like this will satiate me for I guess a few more minutes. Until I feel the hunger again. But I also will say, like, I think after this show, there's like pretty much a 0% chance Microsoft is gonna let them wait to like for Fallout 5. Like that. This is this is genuinely like one of the most valuable like properties in gaming. Like they just can't sit on it for 10 years.
Yeah, it's just unsustainable the way they're doing it at the moment. They're gonna have to hire a different. They're gonna have to have 2 studios.
No, they're gonna have to get another studio to do another Fallout game because like they're doing, this is the thing. Like, if they got another studio to start working on another Fallout game right now, like, it could come out around the same time like Elder Scrolls 6 is coming out.
Yeah.
But if they, if they wait until after that for, and this would be like a side game, right, or whatever, like a, it would have a subtitle, like, Fallout 5 would still be a long ways away, but
Yeah.
like, I think Xbox is gonna kind of force their hand at this point because they're like, we can't do this, Todd. Like,
I've heard before the acquisition, Obsidian offered to do a tie-in, and Bethesda clearly declined. But I'm wondering whether that would happen
it's also
with
hard to
Microsoft.
it's hard to say, but I think like, so one thing, like, Josh Sawyer, who directed New Vegas, he's over at Obsidian. He was doing Pentiment, which released last year, and then he was working on the ports for like Switch and PlayStation that just came out, and now nobody knows what he's doing. And then secondly, like, the larger team that was making Avowed, they will be finished with their game this year. So it really is kind of a nice time lining up for them to like have him make a new game and have enough people to do so this year. Like,
Yeah, the only problem would be it's been so long since Fallout 4 came out. Like it's been nearly 10 years now that I'm not sure if like using the same kind of like setup.
or
Yeah,
anything,
use
yeah.
well, you've just like like New Vegas was very similar to it was basically like the same game but only like different storylines
Right.
and stuff in a different setting. They wouldn't be able to do that this time around 'cause it's been 10 years.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking of too, because like, as much as like they, no one at Obsidian would like has had familiarity with like Creation Engine 2, which I know would like look better and run better, but like
Yeah.
it would take so long for them. Like, it almost would make more sense for them to like use Unreal or something that they're more familiar with and make a very different kind of thing, which
Yeah.
would be a little bit harder to, like, that, like I'm saying, like, I just, that's going to be a command from Xbox. I don't think Bethesda will be very happy about it, is all I'm saying.
No. I
Yeah.
think the alternative would be a remake of one of the older games.
Yeah, my other theory, which I think is actually already happening, would be that In Exile, the Wasteland studio, is doing like a remake of Fallout 1 and 2 for modern stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a huge hit and would be a big deal, but also is not going to sell the same way a new one would.
No, it would make. I feel like a lot of people haven't played 1 and 2 is because they are very dated. So dated that they are incredibly difficult as well. I've heard.
Yes, they are.
So yeah, so I feel like it would at least make 1 and 2 like playable for that kind of like player base that hasn't played them because of those reasons. But
Yeah. It's really, like, I honestly, like, I really love Fallout 2. I think it's a great game, but I also can't really even start a game in it and survive without using a bunch of mods.
yeah,
I mean, that's just what games were like back then, It's just,
yeah.
just get fucked, I guess. Well, you would go to the computer room of your house. You remember the computer room.
We didn't have a computer room.
You didn't have a
I
computer
remember.
room?
No, we had a computer set up under the stairs.
Oh, interesting.
Well,
Was-
British houses are much smaller
That's
than
true.
US houses.
You were right. So yeah, that was a thing in the 90s that like everybody had. Like everyone's like, yeah, the computer room. And that was literally what everyone called it, cuz like there was just a room dedicated, like, all right, everyone, listen up, fam. This is the computer room now. But anyway, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about, like, I can imagine like sitting down at the computer room with your fucking, what were gamers drinking back then? Sprite remix. and like trying to chug through this and spending 4 hours and making no progress and being like game of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at that time, I think that's kind of how it went.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So thanks for joining us. Do you have any? Let's see if we can end on like. Do you have like a hot take prediction for the next season?
I think Deathclaws have evolved into a society.
Yeah.
So when they say the Deathclaws are the main characters or the main storyline, I feel like it's going to be literally like Deathclaw, like Harry, and then his storyline, and then
Okay.
It's just gonna be like I don't know. They're gonna have learned how to speak and everything as well.
All right. My prediction is that we finally see the long fabled Long Dick Johnson as
Yeah.
as referenced in Fallout New Vegas. I think he makes a triumphant appearance on the screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that I think we can get some new fun characters that are maybe less. Here's what I say. I think we're gonna get less hot take jokey. I think we'll get more characters that are like not human, that are kind of more central to the plot. I think things are getting a little bit weirder.
I would
Which
hope
is cool.
we'd have like a faction of super mutants in
Yeah,
the
that's.
storyline as well.
I absolutely think that's gonna happen. You know what? I'm gonna call it now. This is my other. Fox is back. He didn't die. He's still
Yeah.
here. He's hanging around still. He's got his fun glasses on. I love him. I don't
But
love him.
Fawkes,
I
Fawkes
don't love
wouldn't
him
be
because
dead anyway.
You're right. Yeah, I know he survives that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Actually, I resent you, Fox, for like being like not going into the fucking radiation thing for me.
I bet he's gonna do that again in the TV show.
Oh,
Like
that'd be
Lucy's
so
gonna
good.
ask him to do something completely reasonable because
Yeah.
he's resistant to radiation, and he's gonna come up with some bullshit excuse of why he can't.
I still remember that so strongly because like I remember like that moment, and then I was like, there was like this moment of terror where I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to die for this story to end. And then I was like, wait, no, Fox, of course, it's perfect. He's right here with me. My good friend, will you go do this for me? He's like, sorry, friend, this is your destiny. I was like, what?
It would have made more sense if they'd said maybe Fawkes can't go in there because his hands are too big
His
for the
hands are too
buttons.
big. He would hit multiple number keys at once.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, that would be a better ending. So we'll check that out. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back with. I'm trying to like use this as like a buffer so we can get on a schedule again. So I think next Friday we should have a new regular episode out for what was it? Is it Resident Evil Apocalypse? Is our next one?
Yeah,
Next one
yeah, that's
coming?
right.
Yeah, keep an eye out. We got a lot of titties coming for you. Well, really just two for the same person, but
Yeah. Did you see my censorship?
I haven't looked through it yet. I'm excited though. Did you put like two small Jill Valentine heads over her?
No, I used our logo.
Okay, that's much funnier. All right. Anyway, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.